Hmm. Mhm. Oh, didn't see you there. I was just reading one of my favorite books. I would know because I wrote it last weekend. Good evening. My name is Abraham Clabby, known to my closest confidants as Abe Clabby. I'm also known by the books I've written online in Amazon, like Danger Dan, and the book I'm working on right now, Medusa versus the Underworld. Now, I've been writing about Greek mythology for most of 2025. It's a story about a terrible place, run by terrible people, doing terrible things. There is no justice, there is no hope, and you might as well learn to live with it. I couldn't. It seems like there's so many unresolved problems just begging to be answered, so many things made to be set right. And I had to write it. I couldn't write the ones of the real world, so I started writing about a fake one that never existed. So I opened up the world's oldest fanfic, Greek mythology, and started writing my own. So without further ado, I'll be reading an excerpt from Dionysus, Diners, and Dryads. I hope I said that right. In life, some people one meets just look like they have a story to tell. Medusa and her crew had been footnotes in mythology, each ending in tragedy on the whims of a capricious god. But for the last few months, the five of them have been writing their own. Medusa walked in front, her half-dozen hair vipers peering at something in every direction, tan and gray scales winding down her from head to toe claw. The crew couldn't agree on a leader for even a day straight, but she tended to pitch an idea before most of them would have. She was also in front, and she didn't make eye contact, so she didn't turn anyone into stone. It only worked on magicless mortal men, as far as she'd been able to tell, but she didn't want to try and find out. Well, she said abruptly, sorry about that last trip. Really didn't see the whole getting run out of town thing coming. It's usually a lot nicer than this. I have that effect on people, Sisyphus grunted with a stretch as he walked, his boulder-pressing muscles creaking like leather. Plus, I mean, look at your face. Don't! She yelped, just in case one of the others would look. Look at your face! Echo copied his voice, a silent laugh on her own. She was a frail little woman, long black hair combed straight down, often letting a veil of it over an eye to peer out from. She could only say anything by copying what other people said, for reasons she couldn't explain. Sometimes it was cute, even endearing. Other times it came off like sibling mockery. Medusa processed in a few seconds that it was all of those at once. That's what happens when you speak truth to power, though, Arachne muttered gravely. She clutched her dark brown shawl against the biting sea breeze, as it battered at her many ornamented braids like wind chimes. The middle-aged crinkles in her copper-toned skin left her eyes and lips seeming narrowed like slits in a mask. Hold up a mirror to a god, and they'll think you're the one getting ugly. There is an etiquette to bringing up problems to an Olympian. The giant Argo spoke crisply, choosing his words like he would have to live with them for eternity. He stood a head or two taller than the rest of them, and tended to be gentle and hesitant to speak, even move much so as not to panic anyone. You cannot simply tell them when they are wrong. Now the rest of you know why. I would know. I served under them for 781 years. Really? Arachne turned to him. She'd been making eye contact with the eyes on his forearm, but she wanted his face. And how did they repay you? Argos made one of his back-of-the-throat groans, the rest of him unmoving. Most of his 100 eyes spread out over his body, peered into her eyes now, or stared pensive into the distance. The rest remained hidden shut among his muscles and scars. That is not a question to ask of them. I have watched with the most powerful people in history. I have overseen the rise of humankind since the sculpting of the first man. There is no price for such a life. So why'd they let you broke now? Why'd you leave? Okay, that's enough backstory for one trip, alright? Medusa jumped between them with her palms out, trying to keep everyone happy in spite of each other. So, we've got a few days worth of leftovers, most of it not too perishable, and 11 drachma between the five of us. Silver coins accepted most places. We'll just have to decide together how to spend it. Together. The god with the eyes that never sleeps has the knapsack, so, Arachne scrunched up her face like she knew that last warning was for her. She was the newest one here, and they had started out on the opposite side of an attempted coup before they actually got to talking. Medusa liked to think it was her winning personality softening her up. Arachne liked to think they were means to an end, to get her close enough to the gods to tear down a piece of the pantheon. She had waited some 20 years since she started her vendetta. She was a patient predator. Does anyone else see the name on that sign? Argos asked all of a sudden. He gestured ahead as a small wooden post. Just a highlighted dark rectangle at the top of the next hill. Argos, none of us is eagle eyes here except for you, Sisyphus reminded him. I'll have to get that answer in a minute. I'll scout ahead, Arachne decided, wanting some space and to burn off the stress of being around this crowd. She sprinted to the hilltop, stopping just before the end to scour the horizon. Coast was clear. As for the sign, Argos! She cupped her hands and called back. Yes, he answered, as if readying to be asked a favor. We're in Argos, she explained. I mean, he's big, but he's not landmass big, Sisyphus prodded, afraid to actually jab the giant like he'd intended to. You know, signs saying your name are only accurate if you're standing there. You didn't mention opening your own town, Medusa said to him, audibly impressed. Actually, wait, I know this place. I just never bothered to visit. There was a town named after me, Argos repeated, mulling over what this meant to him now. But I have been gone from this world for most of a century. People are easier to idolize when they're not there, Arachne observed cynically. But let them project on someone. Argos' voice sounded more far away now. I've done nothing to deserve such an honor. Yeah, you have. Sisyphus jumped right in like Medusa was about to. Even just since I met you, you've been looking out for us, like as good as if we were paying you. And you've been a human shield and taken hits for us that would have killed us. Again, you can't pay a man to do that. Medusa's words had been bubbling up in her throat, waiting for her turn. Argos, you picked Echo and I up when we were at rock bottom. We weren't any good to anyone. You took care of us anyway. Now we gotta look after you too. She'd never been much of a crier, but she was giving herself a sore throat. Arachne didn't know if she needed to say anything, since she met him when she was telling her guards to aim for the eyes. But he'd fought clean, and still held up against her arsenal. Game recognizes game. I think I know every story that's leaked to the public about the gods. I know at least half a dozen about you. I can't find one sin in your name. Echo just looked at him. Her eyes made their way down him, as if to look each and every part of him in the eye. Rarely have I felt so seen. The words slipped past his lips, as if thinking of them more than speaking. For all of me. Seconds trickled by, and no one wanted to speak or move to break the moment. But Arachne didn't mind. Right then, glad we got that sorted out. Come on, you can bask in your warm and fuzzies while we walk now. Argos and Sisyphus, the guyest of the guys, shook themselves out of the sentiment and went back to life in a hurry, as if embarrassed to have addressed the friendship at all. Over the hill, the road split. To the right, the bustling town of Argos, boasting mule carts and chariots, multiple-story buildings, and an open-air aqueduct that led right out to sea, i.e. the beach. To the left, a palace. Walls snaked their way across the mountaintop, with rounded turrets wide enough to fit a home and several stories tall. Pillars lined its open-air pavilions, displaying tailored forests and private gardens. Level after level stacked up the mountainside like a wedding cake, at least 4 stories in all. And, leading there for nearly a kilometer, was a path lined with trimmed hedgerows and the world's longest red carpet. Argos paused to take a pull. Which way do you think? Left! Left! Definitely left! And Argos at the end parroting Arachne. Left! The eyes have it. Left it shall be. Mind you, I would have headed left even if you had not. You're starting to talk like us now, Sisyphus declared. One of us! One of us! Medusa jumped into the chant after the first syllable. One of us. Argos sighed wistfully. The eyes have it, Echo repeated, pulling an eyelid wide to give Medusa the hint. I mean, yeah, I heard, but what's the... Ha! The eyes! Argos, did you say that on purpose? That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to write a whole lot more after this. I'll be posting it regularly. Well, irregularly. But stay tuned. I'll speak to you then. Ta-ta.